Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 22nd budget workshop for the town of Monroe. There are two exits behind you, one behind us, our left, your right. If everyone could please silence their phones and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It took me a second. That's a nice change. No Rick?
I don't know. I didn't talk to him. I mean,
You're like all by yourself down there, man.
okay. So I had asked department heads to be here this evening. Right now we have three of them, and I know Mrs. Morris was coming. I guess she's not here yet. So why don't we start with ladies first. April from the assessor's office.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, April.
You can lower that microphone.
Okay. We just going through line by line? Are you going to go through, or do you want me to go through?
I guess if you want to start just going through line by line, I will tell you that the personal services was based on a 2.5%
Correct.
raise, which we haven't approved yet. That was the starting point, though.
Okay. Yeah, usually we don't even discuss the salaries at these
Right.
meetings.
Yep.
And the other personnel, the union, is 3% per contract, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay. Perfect. So we are down to assessor's equipment, correct? That will be
Yes.
the next non-line item.
Yep.
It was $1,500 in 2017. In 2018, we appropriated $1,000, which we're going to utilize all of that. So I'm asking just for $1,000 for the assessor's equipment. We are within the next year and a half, the state is going to bring us up into the cloud. So our RPS system that resides on our server right now is going to be handled through the state and through the cloud. There are system requirements. We just replaced 2 computers in-house now. We may need to replace others just to meet the criteria, and that's why I left that in there. It's just a fail-safe that if we do need, not even a laptop, this is an actual computer. Many of ours are, I think, 8 years old. The newest computer I believe we have in there is maybe 3 years old, so they're quite antiquated. So that's for assessor's equipment, so that did not change. Special litigation. We used to have a budget in here of $100,000 a few years back, and we have wheedled it down. In 2017, we had close about $40,000. When we went on with Nugent's firm, it was part of the retainer, so that got stripped out of the budget. However, halfway through the year, what they did is they did start breaking out the assessor's litigation costs. We're in arrears, I believe. Mine said $1,000. I think it's about $1,200 thereabouts. So
Okay.
we're negative right now because there were no funds there. So I'm just asking $3,000 for the entire year. I'm kind of picking a figure from the air on that one because I don't know, what we're going to look at. But we have almost all of our cases settled, almost all of them. 2 new ones this year, and almost everything in the rears has been settled to this point. So we are looking very good with the certioraries.
So April, if you mind if I interrupt you for 1 second. So as of April 15th, it was at 1,012, and you think that it might be another 1,000 or 1,500
For the
in
year.
arrears?
No, I
Not
don't.
arrears, but over that amount.
It may be because the $1,000, I don't know when through the year they started billing us. The whole first half of the year they weren't. It
Right.
was just coming out of the main retainer.
Yeah.
So I don't have a breakdown to how many months this was actually billed. I'm assuming it's about a quarter,
Okay.
1/4 of it.
Yeah, I was just trying to gauge that.
Right.
Talk to Brian and figure that out.
Right. And the fact that we don't have many right now is a good sign that there's not going to be
Yeah.
a huge amount coming. Nothing near the $100,000 we used to spend 10 years ago. So, all righty. Stationery and office supplies, I brought that down also. In 17, we had $4,750. Last year, we brought it down to $3,500. We're probably going to utilize all of that by the end of the year. So I'm asking for $3,000. We'll just be extremely prudent with any purchases in that aspect. public notices, they're the same primarily every year, so unless the Times Herald record fees go up. We did exceed that amount a little bit this year. Well, actually, we doubled it almost, only because we had new hires, and we did have to run some ads in the paper for the new hires. Typically, there are 4 notices, legal notices, that I am required by law to post, and that averages about 500 a year, so I see no reason. The new hires are doing wonderful, so hopefully that will stay status quo. We really reduced the education meetings, dues, and mileage. As you'll see later on in the budget, we are requesting a vehicle this year. A lot of the expenses for travel came out of that line item. We're also going to cut back a little bit on the training and things like that. We talked about luncheons without any education attached to it will be our own, that will not be covered out of this fund as well. So in 2017, we had 70, I need new glasses, can you tell? 7250 it looks like. Last year we budgeted 6,000. We're probably going to meet that. There's a lot of stuff that's not in this number yet. I just got back from conference, but I'm knocking that down to 4,500. So that's coming down substantially. IT support. That used to be Firthcliffe. I don't know how that's going to pan out with New Windsor IT. I don't know if each department will be billed individually for their needs, or if that is a retainer situation as well. So I just retained 500 in that to cover whatever could possibly be billed on that. The vehicle maintenance, that would be for the lease. That represents, Mike, what you had emailed me, an average cost for a sedan. We're not looking for, we don't need a 4-wheel vehicle like the building that is, going to be trekking up hills and on some really gnarly construction sites. And I think $450 a month, I think, was the amount that we looked at.
Yeah, 450 is, I think, roughly what we're spending now.
Yeah, I don't have my calculator in front of me. I'm not that good, but I think I
I'm sure-
multiplied it
No,
out,
that
and
looks about
it's
right.
close.
That looks about right, yeah.
Okay, so that would be for a vehicle. Shared vehicle, one vehicle, the
Right.
2 data collectors, either separate or together, or if anybody else in the office needs it. We did give anybody that could possibly be driving to the supervisor's secretary, so that they're on the insurance plan and all of that. Estimating the fuel. We're not really quite sure. What I did was I kind of looked at the building department's fuel, and I cut it in, I think, a quarter, because we're not out on the road quite as much as they are. So that's an estimation of the 500. So far, I think our bills, Helen, are coming in like $10 or $15 a month.
Right.
They're minuscule, so this actually might be high, depending. Let's see, what else do we have?
What is your contractual?
Contractual is things that we pay for the RPS licensing, printing of the roll, things that we have to pay to Orange County to maintain the RPS. So the contractual would be anything, like say we get an outside company to do anything. We're looking to have our property record cards, the yellow cards, if you will, that Dorothy Post used to maintain, scanned so that we can alleviate some of the file space, and get it all consolidated. Just for historical purposes, we went from the Flintstone era to the Jetson era. We are completely data ready. All the inventory is in the computer. We don't update these cards anymore. So we want to scan them and have them in a PDF format that if we ever even have to literally store them somewhere, we would be able to do that. We do have need for them from time to time when people are looking for historical things, but that's where that number would come from. So I think, what is the bill that comes in from Orange County? At least $1,200 a year, I believe?
At least 1,200, yeah.
Yeah, so that, there's only a little push beyond that for anything that we could possibly need. Grievance board review. We actually, what did we spend last year? 800? The year before it was substantially more. That's a hit or miss. It depends on how many grievances we have and how many meetings they need to have. The new board that you guys put in place this year was fabulous. We were done very quickly. We didn't have as many as the year prior, but we were done very quickly. So I think the 1,500 is, no, what is the grievance board? 1,000 is more than enough. It's middle of the road between the year prior and this past year. Okay. And then the auto insurance, again, is an estimate. It is an estimate based on the building department. I think theirs came in a little bit short, actually, for what they budgeted last year. So that's, again, these are just estimates because I really don't know the cold hard, and that's it.
April, question. With the pending palm tree situation, how many parcels do you expect to lose?
The parcels in KJ, it's a little over, I think about 5,000, but we're retaining almost 9,000, 8,000 something.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of loss in there. But as I had mentioned previously when we talked about hiring the people that we did, we've been running by the seat of our pants. We're actually going to function like a normal assessor's office now. We're not just going to be, rushing through everything. We're going to be able to take a look and really data collect the way we should have been for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with that being said, April, can you give me your thoughts on a possible IMA to do the assessing in KJ? And I'm asking this, you and I have to discuss this, but I'd like the board to hear it.
Oh, absolutely. I wish I had brought my memo with me. I don't know if you remember back in May, I believe I had sent you all a memo, and I will send it again if you'd like. I highly, highly recommend that the board very hastily look into any IMA when it comes to assessing. It is a different animal altogether. It's not like plowing the highways. It is not like bringing a dial-a-bus in there to pick up people. If anybody hasn't been in KJ recently, I recommend that you do that as well. The assessing was tenuous at best years ago. We were just trying to keep up. They do have their own building department and their own building requirements. Most of the parcels in there are either commercial or condominiums. Yeah. They're actually converting all of the two, and I have very few actual residential parcels left. The problem that's happening now is with the condominiums, when they create a condominium, it's actually form of ownership. It is not style of building. And it is something that has to be filed with the state, and it's very, very specific. When you do an addition or something to that condominium, they're really technically, legally supposed to file what's called an amended declaration. It's % of ownership, it's complete description of what's there. So they're building additions, 4-story in size. For example, 5-unit condo, it was maybe a house. I have a 4-story addition with 20 units on the back of it, no amended declaration. To assess that, I still have to assess it, but I have to find the value for that addition and break it out over the owners that are actually there, those 5. To make matters worse, huge parts of those additions are mikvahs and shuls, and if they are owned by an exempt corporation and they are being used, they are legally entitled to that exemption. So I have to then go and apportion it out and figure out what part's exempt and what is not. We have situations where we have buildings that are partly exempt and not. They put a whole apartment behind it on the same parcel. The same thing holds true. So I have to suffix parcels out. So the assessing is very, very difficult. The basement units in many of these are being finished without any building permit at all. Go ahead.
So, obviously that assessing is being done as though it's part of the town of Monroe.
Absolutely.
So there's a reason for the lack of transparency. But I would imagine if we were doing it for their hometown and they would want to maximize their tax dollars, I could be wrong in this train of thought.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are you, like, just like, what is your, like, percentage of your office? Like, what time, what was the percentage of work that you do that's, related to the former village or the soon-to-be former village?
At least 30%. At least 30%. And I say that only because the exemptions, which are primarily in the town outside,
Right.
take an enormous amount of time. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. I wish the state, when they pass these laws, when the lobbyists are up there, would come down and sit in our offices during exemption time and see what it takes, to administer these. So I would say at bare minimum 30. And that's only because I lovingly say, because MASH is my favorite show, we're doing meatball surgery in there. We go in, we do what we can, we get it on there. We never have time to revisit, really, and see what's really going on in the basements. We get keyed off when we get a mailing address that's, let's say, 011. We know that's a basement apartment, and we look at the building. We might send somebody out to look at it. We've just really have been treading water. But it's the article that was in that memo that I sent came from their local newspaper, and it was translated, saying that 2017 was the beginning of their housing flood, where they were going to expand, and it was going to continue massively until they reached 6,000 units. What I mentioned in the memo with the water pipeline is half opened, which that was what they were waiting for. That's, I think, why we saw it contained up to this point. Once they have the water, boom, they can build. They're going to go. And they are. I mean, they said it themselves within this letter. So to do the assessing, what I explained to Supervisor Cardone is, as an assessor, there's no way I can do 2 towns, one town at 8,000 parcels is more than enough. If you look at assessors within Orange County, 8,000 is actually a large town for the county. And each one has a full-time assessor and more staff than we have. So you're adding, it's not the parcel size, it's the complexity of that town. And it's going to be the size soon, very soon. But right now, it's primarily the complexity. I did speak with other assessors, one that has a similar type atmosphere, and he was in full agreement, and he's been doing this for a long time, that one assessor can't do that. You have 2 grievance days, 2 of everything. You're duplicating it, so it's not just status quo and continue to do what we're doing and just hire more staff.
And the issue that April and I had discussed
Yeah.
was, if we did an IMA with them, a clause in that should be that any certiaries that we have would have to be paid for by them, because those are things that come up randomly. You don't know when you're gonna get.
You have
grievance.
tertiary scars, you've got bar.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
All those costs have to be factored into it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about hiring a whole new staff. And I had mentioned to Tony that when I was hired for this position, only, I think, 3 people applied. 3. There has been numerous assessors' positions that are open right now, and they're not getting anybody to apply. I think you would be very hard-pressed to find anybody to be the assessor for the village. It's a tough village. I've been told if you can assess that village, I could assess any town in the entire state. It's that difficult. So it's, eyes wide open.
all right, anybody have anything else?
Any other questions?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, April, very
you.
much.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
I'm gonna defer to the other female in the room. She just walked in, and I know she has a meeting at the Park Commission, so. Henry Morris, you wanna come up and talk about your budget for the senior center?
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
Thank you for being here.
Sure. I guess I will start with, I obviously just walked in, so I'm not sure what was said ahead of time, but
We're
does
basically
anyone
going,
have any questions?
yeah, we're going line by line, if
Yeah.
anybody has questions.
Oh, line by line?
Well,
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to,
I think what you had asked the department heads was to go through their budgets and to make reductions, and I don't know what the numbers you have in front of you, because we had changed them a few times, but I thought I had reduced it about 14% or 13%. I think you asked for 10.
yep,
And I think the other thing I wanted to ask was to set up a capital, a type of savings account, a capital reserve account. And that is so we are prepared going forward if there is any large expenditures for the building itself, such as a new roof or something that we need to save for, that we start to save for that now rather than attempt to go into fund balance. And so this year in the budget, $30,000 was set aside for a roof. We had applied for some grants this year. I believe, do we get official confirmation that we're getting?
Yeah, so here's the deal with that. I wanted to trial one department by putting some stuff in. So I trialed the senior center because those grants, for the most part, have been confirmed. So right now, your adopted budget for last year was $127,704. What we have on our original tentative budget is 114 and change. But when I added in the grants and everything associated with it, with a couple other changes, it came to 122,126. So you're looking at like a 3.5% reduction, but what's not included in that is the revenue money from the grants.
Right, so
That
because
goes
it's an
into
expenditure,
townwide. Right.
because we have to pay for the items to come in, the HVAC, and for the automatic door openers, you have to have the expense, and then you have to have the revenue, and that'll offset each other, but you can't say, okay, because this money is coming in, not to include it in the budget. So next year, they would be eliminated, that type of expenditure, because I'll have already completed the project. But I am concerned that the building is over 20 years old, And we did also apply for a grant for the roof. And we were not successful in getting that. At least we don't believe we have been, and I'm sure we weren't. So I think to be prudent, we would probably, if it's agreeable to the board, is to set aside some money that, even though it rolls back into fund balance, but we know that that part is a piggy bank, so that we're prepared to do this. We did get some estimates, and because it's a prevailing wage job, and because municipality, they came in pretty high, much higher than I think we anticipated, and we were looking at $75,000 to $85,000 to replace this roof. So, maybe in another year we can find some other, once you go out to bid, we can see what comes back. Maybe it doesn't get done next year or even in a year after, but I think we should be setting aside funds in anticipation that we'll be doing that.
So Anne Marie, I did talk to Tony about that, and I had suggested that we actually set up a capital reserve fund for the senior
Good.
center for any kind of repairs and improvements, because if we don't, like you said, that money, the $30,000, that would go into general fund balance.
Right, and then it's
And
lost.
then it's right.
it-
It's not set aside for the
Right.
senior center. So I think what the board should do is actually create that capital fund, put the money in there, and save it that way.
Yeah, and I would agree, and I think that, this is now one of your older buildings, although I think it's in great shape, if I do say so myself, but I do think we should be conscious that we may need to roof it. It doesn't have the best roof, and I've had some leaks, and we've repaired them. As soon as we see them, we repair them naturally. But, I think we want to be proactive rather than, be caught where we have to replace the roof and we haven't saved for it. So that part is in the budget. And of course, the parts with the automatic door openers and the new HVAC systems, that's in there as an expense, but there is offsetting revenue that you'll see in the revenue line that we would have put in there. So that was a change that we had done from the first time that I had sent it into to the supervisor.
Okay.
Did anyone have any other questions?
So the non-routine maintenance, is that where you're carrying that?
Yeah, right now that's something that Peter set up last year, and I think it's earmarked 30,000.
Okay.
So I'm asking for that to be, set aside in that quote unquote piggy bank, so that we could, we're looking for when we have something big. And honestly, after we do the roof, I really think we would be in great shape. I mean, this carpet needs to be changed. It's 20 years old. And I've been doing, some of the smaller rooms that they've been, redone. But, this is not a large expenditure. This is something I can, I can make work. But the roof is not something I can make work.
The contractual, I saw that, it was 16.75 for last year, and it was 17,067 as of the 15th of August, and now you're, for the tentative for 19 is 16,000. So, what exactly is that? And
Are you
comfortable with having 16 when it's already gone over for the current fiscal year?
We haven't gone over for the current fiscal year.
The contractual is showing that
contractual
we're over
showing.
1,000.
Right, we had moved some money the other day. There was an error that we moved some money
That's right.
back into. There was an entry that was.
There was an entry actually paid out of that line that should have come out of a different
Jolly
line.
seniors.
Right.
Yes, so we
Yeah,
reversed
so,
it.
so we
Okay.
corrected
Yeah,
it,
just-
but I do feel comfortable with that, and those are our exercise instructors, and so, or if I have a DJ or somebody come in to do a party, I would take it out of that line, and, quite frankly, sometimes during the year, I get someone that'll volunteer, like the person that is teaching Spanish, she volunteers. I have someone that is offered to teach French next year, and she'll volunteer. So when I get things like that, that's what I hope for also, to be able to find someone to volunteer for a while as well. I've got a computer, someone that'll teach computers next summer. So I do feel comfortable with that. If I didn't, I wouldn't have put it in, truly, because I obviously need to to keep the classes going, and that's the real heartbeat of what goes on around here.
All right.
Exercise heartbeat. Ta-da-dun.
Anybody else?
Okay, Monbassia, did you want to do that?
Park? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you
we
want.
might as well do all three of
Yeah.
them while I'm here. So Monbassia, what was done in 2017, we have been correcting the irrigation issues that we've had up there. We're halfway complete. We're also trying to keep the costs down by,
On page 10.
Thanks.
sorry, I'll wait for you to get there. Okay.
Thank
So, part of those expenditures that I'll need for next year will be to continue to correct some of the issues that's come up with irrigation. John Sherney's guys, the highway guys, have been terrific in helping us locate and repair when they're able. And obviously, when there's more pressing highway issues, that takes that's a front seat there. And when we can get this done, hopefully at the end of next spring. We have the building itself. We think we found all the leaks. They've been air pressurized. We still have to run water through, and we have to still see if the toilets, if there's any problem with the toilets and the sewer system. But that's a whole nother section. So we really didn't want to start opening that up. And now we're in October, almost November. So we've stopped for this year, and then we hope to finish it in the spring. We've been fortunate that the soccer club has been donating services to us. So they've done some aerating and some fertilization, but I would be responsible for doing the fertilization on the rest of the park next year. And so I need to do projects like that. There's also some I don't want to call them safety issues, but there's some things I think we should consider doing in the park. And I'd like some post and rails along the parking lot area. I'd like a new sign. We have no sign over at the soccer field. So I think when you're looking to do town hall, we should look at all of our signage, and we should be consistent at the boathouse. We have like terrible signs down there, and I think we should, if we have a new town hall, the Monbassia Park, the soccer side has no sign, and the boathouse. So I'd like to be consistent, and I think we should try and do all of our signage to look similar or as similar as possible. And then there's some other items I'd like to add just to keep kids safe while they're up there. So I'd rather not detail all that here because I don't think that's really appropriate. But I can email you. I think Mary and I have talked about it, so I just would rather not say, I'm sorry. I should probably not even brought it up. So do you have any questions on that budget?
I have a question on the Faber farm.
Mm-hmm.
Heating oil is 0. Are we keeping that winterized, so to speak, so nothing is happening to it? We're currently not really using that.
It hasn't been used this year.
Right, so it's just winterized and that's it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Alex Smith Pavilion.
Okay. This summer, we were open a couple of weekends in June, Fridays and Saturdays, and then we started, I believe it was June 23rd, and we finished up on Labor Day, September 2nd, I believe it was. We had a really rainy season this year. As you know, everything has been rainy, and so that reflects in a lot of the in the revenue there. But fortunately, we were able to offset our costs, which really is the cost is the salaries for the young adults that we have down there. So I'm happy that we were able to cover it. But it was a tough summer in that sometimes we would open. There'd be a rainstorm, and then it's deciding whether or not to call them back, or if we hear thunder and in how long. We know we don't open again for 30 minutes, but sometimes we had thunder for hours and nothing happened. So then I've got a cost of having the kids there. So it's a balancing act, and I think we did a good job, and I think the kids the young adults were really great. I'm really pleased with the way that they were dressed professionally, they acted professionally. Comments from residents were that they were very happy. And I think our guest policy that you guys instituted in July worked in our favor, so that if we did have people that were non-residents and they were using our boathouse, that was a little extra revenue generator. So all in all, we were able to cover our costs. And I think someone may have a question on why a couple of years ago it was almost double that. The only thing I could say, I did go through some of the forms from 2015. It was a novelty. The weather may have been better, and I believe there was marketing. There was a lot of marketing done, perhaps on one part of Monroe. I mean, if you look at the paperwork, I would say 75 to 80% of the people who rented were from KJ. So I don't know, but we had exceptional year for revenues. I don't see that happening. It didn't happen this summer, and we were open a few hours later a day. But I also looked at when people were signing out boats. So there was a lot of time where they sat around waiting for people to come, and that's why I had the hours noon to 7, because I felt that was a real chunk of time. People were not coming at 9 a.m. So.
Do you feel that we were hurt by not having more of the 4-person boats out there? That's my first question. The second question is, were the paddle boards worth getting in your opinion?
I think we had a lot of problems with the paddle boats in the beginning. We'll do the paddle boats first. I think we had a lot of problems with some of them were old and they needed to be replaced, and so they worked and then they didn't work, and then we didn't pull them out fast enough, and some of them just needed to go. They were really old. So once we got those out and we got the other ones in, then I think everything was fine. I can't say that we had so many times where people were waiting for boats. I think it was a good balance. The paddle boards, everyone loved the idea, and I do like the idea very much still. But paddle boards, a lot of people don't want to wear the life jackets. And, if you own a paddle board, and there are quite a few people that have them on Round Lake and on Walton Lake, they're not wearing life vests. The yoga class that typically takes place on Walton Lake, they're not wearing them. They're doing yoga poses, so that encumbers them doing the yoga poses. So, but we have a liability issue, so it's a balance, that I don't know that we can have them without it. But people are, they, as soon as they heard that, they didn't really want to. They're like, oh, I don't want to go on with it. They'd like the age a little lower, 14 high schoolers. So the 16 hurts us too, but it's a balance, and it's something that you will have to make a decision. If you want to keep it the way it is, that's fine, and if you want to adjust it, I'll be happy to adjust it and report back to you and let you know. But
do the paddle boards have the people have a strap on there?
They do.
their-
It
on their
attaches
leg,
to their
right?
ankle.
I'm wondering if there's a way we can attach a life jacket to the strap so that it won't hinder them, but it'd be right
there's something
there,
that they could
accessible.
grab?
Yeah.
It's a possibility. Yeah, I mean, we could.
There's-
I mean, I
get it,
had
that life
a
jacket.
person that came, off the boat launch, so he wasn't with us. He came with his paddleboard, and he had his dog on it too. And the dog had a life vest, but he wasn't wearing one. And he just took right off. And, but it's not.
Emily, everything is fine until something happens.
Absolutely.
And the problem is that if they have like a ankle strap, at least they're not getting separated from the board, but still
Right.
there's a big liability.
Oh, I agree, and I'm totally not arguing the point. I'm really just presenting
Yeah,
what
it's-
some of the complaints were.
If a private individual wants to not wear a life vest on their own paddleboard,
Yeah,
fine. But then they expect us to rescue them if there's a problem.
absolutely. So those were the feedback that I received. But other than
there were
that,
people using them.
oh yeah, there were. Oh, for sure. But I really thought
It would be better.
it would be more. I
Yeah.
really did.
Me too.
And I think in January, there's going to be questions with people with residency, and the town of Palm Tree. So I think in January would be a good idea for us to market. And this would be part of the marketing, marketing our parks, marketing that, and informing people, if we have new rules and regulations, what they are. And I think we've got to get ahead of the curve rather than waiting for the season to open. And not only with maybe our website, but also maybe in the photo news, people should understand, what new things may be occurring. So I think, that's part of it in January's, maybe we should be marketing as well. And that should hopefully help.
Are you going to need, do you anticipate needing additional paddle boats?
No. I don't think I need any new equipment. I really don't. I think what we have is good. I think we're right where we need to be. We don't need to buy any more life jackets. I really think, aside from hiring staff,
We're ready to go.
we're ready to go. Yeah. So I don't anticipate. I had to buy signs. There were a lot of things that
A lot of expenses.
A lot of
you
things
won't need next
that
year.
I did have that I wasn't anticipating until we were in full swing. And, we had people there at night and they were on the boats, they were climbing on the boats, they were barbecuing on the wooden tables. So there was a lot of stuff that I don't know if
We don't
this
have to
was.
buy any new wooden tables?
No wooden tables. Chase them off. And we have no barbecues down there anymore. I mean, you hate to be like that, but you would think common sense would prevail, and in some cases it doesn't. It's a wooden structure. So, I don't anticipate any new things. And I think while the signage is good, aside from, we should have something that says this is the town of Monroe and be
Right.
consistent with all of our signs, which I think would be a great thing for next year. The aquatic control, I mean, that's a contract. Other than that, the rest of the stuff is I think, explanatory. Did you have any other questions?
I would just like to say, with this food truck festival, in the last 2 weeks, you put in close to 100 hours. You're amazing. What a phenomenal job you did. I just want to say thank you
Thank you.
for all your
Thank you.
help and support
It was
in
a
the
team
last 2
effort.
weeks.
Without a doubt, it was a team effort, but, it was a great day, and I think we didn't anticipate having as many people that kept coming, and our vendors were incredibly happy.
Absolutely.
I think the art show was a great addition. I think it added another element to it. And, the other thing is, we had a plan in place, and plans change. And I think the great thing is to be able to make those changes and no one gets flustered, and we just roll with the punches, and it depends on which truck drove in, and okay, we're going to move you here, and and everybody just
You're gonna get
pulled
stuck
together.
here.
Some people got stuck. Yes, we had a little muddy area, and they did get stuck, but Sal was
got
able
out.
to get him out and drive the truck into place. So I was shocked to see that.
Concrete jungle.
I have to say that, that's the type of thing that has to happen when you run an event like this. It's not set in stone,
No.
and you have to be flexible and make those changes on the fly. And our fire police were excellent. They stepped up to the plate and they helped us. They gave us ideas. The village police, we really, there were lots of people a lot of moving parts, and everyone was so willing to help. It really was a sense of community, and I think, I aside from a couple of muddy areas, so you stayed away from those. The dogs, we have to talk about that for next time. We had a few dogs. Some people did show me that they were service dogs. They had it on their phone. They weren't wearing anything that indicated service dogs. I don't know what the law is, but
State law, you don't have to have that anymore.
right. So, if someone said they were a service dog, who am I to disagree? But there were quite a few
Service
dogs.
peacocks here, so.
No service squirrels or peacocks, because
Well,
I guess
Well,
that's
yeah,
it.
The other-
you
But-
did incredible job, you and Sal, and I know Tony was very involved, and everyone else on the board that helped out, and Highway, and
Oh,
everyone
for
else
sure.
that was there.
Maintenance and
Definitely.
highway.
Maintenance,
Yeah.
it was
And
just a really-
Dial-a-bus,
I mean,
dial-a-bus.
I actually got a lot of
Yes.
compliments about Jose driving the bus. He was very
Yeah.
cordial, accommodating, and
And I think
It
it
was
was
great.
smart to close the road. I was at first not for it. I really wanted one side open, but it was smart to close the road. A lot of people walked, and it was a great, I mean, geez, if you're going to eat like that, you will
gotta
probably
walk,
need to
yeah.
walk afterwards, you know? So that was great, but before I finish, I would just like to point out that M&T Bank was a huge, gave us a huge donation. Aside from all our food trucks and our bands and everyone else that was there, we had a lot of donations in kind. We had Ace Amusements that donated a ride for us. They also donated 2 portable lights. Orange County donated a stage. We had Johnny Chow's Celebrity Master of Ceremonies. He donated his time. Orange County also brought down some electric road signs to help us so that people knew where to go. The Sheriff's Department had a table there for children, a children finder program. Bins of pumpkins were donated. Morangi?
Laura Ann donated those.
Morangi.
Yeah, Laura Ann Morangi.
Laura Ann Morangi Hauling had
Yep.
a dumpster and all the totes. And, you know, having all those totes there just keeps everything, you know, the vendors really loved it. They say we're the only ones that provide that, but it makes cleanup and it keeps bees away, and, you know, it's really a great thing to have that. Smith Clove Park donated, or not donated, but allowed us to use their electric cart and their Kubota four-wheeler so we could get around, because you can't use the trucks that day. You have to, you know, you have too many people walking around. Did I miss anybody? I hope not.
No.
If I
The
did,
only
I'll
thing
make
The
sure
only thing I
to-
want to say is, you talk about doing things on the fly. You know, highway came in because we had a couple of high trucks, and where we were putting them, we actually had to trim trees that were like 14, 12 foot off the ground. And, you know.
In minutes, we had those limbs down.
Bo and Mike Gary were absolutely phenomenal taking care of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I commended Webster and Victor today. The cleanup there was incredible. I did find one plastic spoon. But other than that, that place was spotless. It really was. And I'm proud to.
And we
you
had
know,
thousands of people.
Yeah. We had to have between 2,500 and 3,000. Because
easily.
if Vesuvius Pizza sold out of over 200 pies
Yeah, by 3 o'clock.
by 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
you know.
He was just listening to the band by 3 o'clock. He was
Yeah.
out of food.
Yeah.
So,
And
it was
and
good.
also it was a good mixture of just enough trucks, because, you know, you have too many
That's
trucks,
key,
they're not
that's key,
making
very
enough money,
important.
you have too little, no food is left. So it was just the right mixture of
Yeah.
the amount of trucks. And for the second time, you know, Sal, you were instrumental in getting the trucks for us. So excellent job.
Great team effort by everybody. It was just
Okay.
great.
And our expenses and our revenues were really tight. I mean, I think we were like at 5,500 and 55 and change, or 53 and change. So again, you have to have the, you know, the expense line, and then you're going to show it on the other side for the revenue. So I would also ask later on in the meeting, under perhaps new business, that we have a resolution so I could pay the bills. We should put that in. And then going forward in our budget, we should have that as
New
well.
line. Yeah.
If we're going to do it 3 times or 2 times, whatever it is, we should have it, the revenues, and has to be on the other side, the expenses.
I think we did put a line in somewhere.
We did, it's under community
Community
events.
Celebrations.
Or celebrations, sorry,
Yep.
right, celebrations.
Yep, okay. All right.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And Smith Clove Park, if they come tonight, I mean, I don't know, I'm going to their meeting now, so I don't know if you had any questions about their budget.
I do, but I'll call John.
Great, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom? Want to go over it quick?
Sorry?
You want to go over it quick? Okay, let me start out by saying, Tom has been in this position less than 2 months. He's gotten rid of 2 of the old buses that have been back there for approximately 3 or 4 years.
I think 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay. He's got 2 other buses that are already on the auction block. Today, we received a check from the state for reimbursement from the federal government for $207,000 because of inaccurate filing in 2016, and we're expected to get another nice chunk of change for 2017. So I just want everyone to know that, when you go out and you spend money on an employee, and you also do an IMA with Warwick, Jen Crover has been instrumental. I think that they have more than, solidified, what can be done when we're accountable and management is on top of things. So I want to thank you, because when that check came in today, I was like, this is perfect. Now we just got to figure out what line we got to insert in.
Well, there's many lines here.
Yeah,
So,
yep.
what questions do you have? This is all new to me, so I don't know.
Okay, so I'll start off by saying, we originally budgeted in the bus operation equipment, we originally had $100,000 in there. It's 46,000 now, and the bulk of that is 6 buses, 5 of them at
7,000.
7,000 and 1 at 8,000.
8,000, right?
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
So that comes out to 43, so that's, almost, over 90% of that line.
Right, and then another 3,000 for maybe new floors or other
Yeah.
stuff that we may need.
New light fixture.
New light fixture, yeah.
That's not operation.
He came in and did that very quick today,
Oh, he
by
did?
the way. Yeah.
Was it the ballast?
Yes.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So, Dom and I have gone over, this, on multiple occasions. Jen actually sat in the initial meeting, and, when you look at it and you look at the increase, a good majority of that increase, because it went from, let's say, 450 to 521, we're going to be getting reimbursement for.
About 85% of that will be coming back.
Yeah. So, we have to understand that when we are paying a little more, but we're getting reimbursement for it, and we're also getting, additional services for it. We're gonna have brand new buses, 6 of them at least, and you have 8 in the fleet.
8, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we're going to keep 2 of the older ones.
and Dom, you were scheduled to go to the 19A testing that was canceled?
Correct, yes, but I'm rescheduled now for November 30th, I believe it is, to go to Hurley, New York, and take my refresher there.
Okay. All right. So, I don't know, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, yeah, I have a few. Hey, Tom, how are you? And,
Very good, Mike.
Welcome, and good job so far.
Thank you.
Very, very happy the way things are going. With the overtime, I see, and again, I know this predates your time there, but it was budgeted for $6,500 last year for the 18 budget. The year-to-date on the 15th of August was $81.59. And then I noticed that the overtime for 19 is $4,000. So are you fairly comfortable with that number, that you'll be able to get it down, seeing as how it's been
Yeah,
considerably
it'll
higher?
definitely go down because later on tonight, I'm going to see if I can get a part-time driver to help bring that number down.
All right, so I guess, are you looking at, the redundancy of schedules and runs and things like that to keep the,
I'm still looking into that. Just
Okay.
give me time to change things up, and we may have to make, we're definitely going to make adjustments.
just on the same vein, for vehicle repairs and parts, $6,000 was budgeted, and almost $14,000 was year-to-date for the, in August. And that's a very similar number for bus operations vehicle repair labor was $6,000, and that actual number was 12.
What I'm hoping, Mike, is because we're getting the new buses, that's why that number went down to 6,000.
Okay.
I'm confident that with the new buses, we're not going to be spending the money that we were
Okay.
on repairs.
Right. Are you looking at other? Is it a matter of looking at other vendors for those repairs?
I have done that. I went to someone else, and I've saved some money already by doing that.
Okay.
Because the buses were going back for the same issues. It was a repeat. They weren't fixing the problem, and I went to a different person, and it's it got fixed, the problem that they had.
Right.
So I did look at a different vendor.
And we talked about doing some sort of RFQ for an hourly wage, so that maybe
okay.
we get one or two, people.
Yeah. And also with the repairs, I know I've spoken with John. We want to sit down with Tony as well and see if we can't get the highway guys to help more. I mean, they've been tremendous, but maybe we could hire another mechanic that could work for me part-time and work for John, and that monies would get reimbursed from the county. So, we may be able to come up with a solution like that, and that'll cut out a lot of this labor that we're having.
Okay, great.
Got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Finally good to meet you, Cologne, so we never got a chance to really meet formally, so I'm sorry about that, but in the future, I'm sure we will.
Yep.
So far and this is not to be nitpicking, but office supplies, we went from 2,000, we're gonna budget 2,000, but year-to-date, you only spent 7. So we're approximately like 1,800. That would be line
4101.
4101.
Oh, two.
4101.
I'm all one.
4101.
Sorry.
So it was 2018. We spent 727, and I budgeted 2,000 again for the following year.
Are we gonna need 2,000? Because that's another 13 more than what you're spending. It's almost the end of the year.
I probably won't need it. I can drop that down.
All right. Miscellaneous was 1,000 last year. You gave 5,000. So far, we're $96, not even 100.
Yeah, I dropped it down. Yeah, 5. I dropped it in half.
Okay. And last, and certainly not least, here's the big one. 4225. That's the radio and GPS. Now, we went from 1872 year to date, and 5100 tells me that there's some issues going on there.
What we did is we went and we got the two-way radios for the buses.
Okay.
So we're doing away with the cellular phones.
Oh, that's good.
Which
Yeah.
which is line 4221,
Right.
which is 3,000.
Right.
That was
So
adopted.
that's why I'm asking,
Right.
because when you see a spike like that, something's got to be going on for it, so I just wanted to find out about
Okay.
that, that's all. Other than that, thank you very much, and it's a
welcome.
good start.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Tom. Appreciate it.
Great job.
Thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
Ben?
Very good.
Wow, you're gonna owe him lunch for that one, Ben.
Better look out, he can eat too.
And I might add that Ben was tardy due to his appearance at court, which was this evening, so.
And it went well. We
Good.
took care of a couple issues.
You remember what page you're on, Ben? 13.
13, yes. 13 of 26.
Safety, all right. Okay, so, you wanna start? Ben cut out, I did this.
I think I did the difference. Originally, I had cut out about 29, but looking down here at what was
You cut out almost
tentatives.
a little over 9%.
Yeah, a little bit over 9.45 or something like that. It was 22,000 and change.
The only question I had, Ben, and I haven't spoken to anybody about this, but I thought that you have 2 cars. There's really 2 of yous right now. I thought that if we floated the other vehicle, which the assessors are using right now, it's actually in the repair shop, over to the assessor's office, then we could actually save some money in the assessor's line, and your line would probably, have less repairs
Yeah,
on it as
absolutely.
well. So if you're conducive to that and April's conducive to that, you know, I would really like to, you know, start out down that path to try to save some dollars there.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I spoke with her about it, and I was all for it, you know, since the very beginning. So, yeah, for sure.
Do you find that this lease, and be honest with you, because, you know, this is our first time doing it, do you find that it's working out to our benefit, or do you think it's...
I really do. I really do.
Do you find what Enterprise had told us is factual as far as their responsiveness, or...
Yeah, we have. Any issues? Initially, we had some issues where
early on.
mats,
right.
I think inspections or something like that, and everything was taken care of. They were very proactive on getting back with us with emails. I had no issues whatsoever with them, and I think now it's about the time that we have to take them back to get oil changes and stuff like that, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. But I don't anticipate any problems because Loyal is part of the Enterprise group there, so they just do that. They bill it right to them. We don't see any of that. So everything is working out really good.
All right, good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're good vehicles. I mean, Mark takes them up to Smith Farm all the time and drives around the mud and everything, so.
All right, good.
Yeah, he brings it back into the office, and, you know, then we get Alex yelling at him.
Or Jeeps. Your Jeeps.
Yep.
They're supposed to do.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Got a couple here, and first off, Ben, thanks for all the work you do, because I know a lot of it is, you know, kind of like an unsung hero running around the town and doing all the things you do. So.
Nobody ever stops in and complains to him, Rick. Don't you know?
Well, I got a few now.
That's all he gets.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
On line 1010, second from the top, last year we were at 81,007. This is for inspection, public safety building inspector. And we're 53 and now up to 83. There's like a 30K difference there. What's that?
No. So that number is only through 8/15, the 53 number.
Uh-huh.
His adopted is what his salary is.
Oh, okay.
So.
No, okay. I just wanted to know what that difference. That's all.
Okay.
I guess you probably lost somebody on line 1060. Compensation for typist. You have 36. You're budgeting for 37. This is for 23. Is that going to be basically on target or close to it?
No, that's going to be pretty close. I mean, that's Alex's salary.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so that's Alex. The only person we lost was the part-time
Right. I
position
remember
of
that.
26, so
Okay.
that's why that line is now down to 0.
Right, that's what I figured, that you had lost somebody, so. And the line for inspection equipment is 3,000 so far. We're at 81, and that's through August.
Yeah, and that's gone up since then. I don't know what the number is now.
And the same thing is with uniforms?
Yeah, because the uniforms, we usually wait till the end of the year. And we usually try to buy stuff on clearance and so on
No,
and
I
so forth.
appreciate
So,
that, yeah.
That's usually why at the beginning of the year, everything is so new that we usually wait until, and the summertime, we try to do it, and I try to remind Mark, and I'm guilty for it too. It's just hard to get out there, and, you know, going shopping with the wives is not always our choice, so we cater to them. So, you know, it's just tough.
That's your battle, not mine. I ain't touching that line.
Good.
And I got 3 girls.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
not
can
touching
imagine.
that line. Other than that, I don't have any more questions. You hit it on the money.
I have one question. I noticed also your dues, education dues, that went down a little bit. You're going to be okay with that lower amount?
Yeah, I think so. I think
Because
so.
you usually go to some long courses, like a week course. So.
Well,
Yeah,
there's a lot of courses,
it's one in the spring and then usually one next month. So me and Mark will be gone for 3 days next month, and we're going to that one. But I think we should be okay because, you know, we don't have Susan anymore, so all the even dues and everything that go initially at the beginning of the year, those will be gone because we won't have to pay for her dues and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Free to go.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Sherney.
Hello all.
Superintendent Shirley, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Great, wonderful.
Feel like saying a speech or something.
Friends, Romans, country. Give it something.
Since you're up there, thank you for your help with the men this weekend.
No, absolutely.
The festival was great. Thank you for being there.
It's a nice event for sure.
Did an outstanding job and tremendous
Always.
positive
I
feedback.
knew I was
and
close.
really good mixed crowd. It was really nice, and the guys were they were on it from
Good.
start to finish. So.
That's what we like to hear.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and trying to put away that's the stage, the county stage / trailer was.
Yeah, that's tough.
That was,
oh yeah, it's
that was
got
a little daunting, but they got it done. We got it done.
nobody got hurt.
Nobody
got hurt.
Surprisingly, we did it in the dark. So
Little help from the mayor's generator, I heard.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
Mayor
he was
Dwyer.
clutch. Mayor Dwyer was clutch with that.
All right.
You guys take a lot of pride in what they do, John.
No, we do.
Really
We do, and they should. You know, it's a good job, and we are public servants. That's what we do. So, there's not a heck of a lot of change here, and there can't be. Myself and Tony and Bob, we all sat down and discussed highway budget compared to what it was and what it is now. You know, through attrition, we've lost four men, which, you know, would add up to about $400,000 a few years ago. So the one change that I did see that could be concerning, and we did talk about it, was, of course, the salt budget. We're dropping that down a little bit, and I have not heard from the village of Curious Joel, nor has Tony.
17.
So here we are again in November, and we have no communications. And that's fine, we can drop down to salt, but we just don't want it to bite us, and they would have to, if something comes up and they say they need us to do this again, then maybe they have to buy their own salt.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Maybe
Yeah.
that's something that you would have to put in the contract.
Yeah.
This way it doesn't bite the town taxpayer, you know, and
Yep.
we can get through that without worrying about anything significant.
Do they purchase their own salt now?
No, they do
No,
not. No, they do
So
not.
even though they do a little bit of plowing with their minimal.
They'll come and take salt out of
They
our,
come and get- okay.
yeah. Last year, my calculations, and I'm within, I'm gonna say 20%, we spent around $100,000 in salt in KJ.
Wow.
And the reason being is every time you go over there, you better salt.
Yeah, it's
And you guys took a ride around and seen the traffic that's over there. It's a whole different ball game from here to there.
very hilly, very.
And very,
difficult.
the traffic is what
Yeah.
kills you.
Traffic.
On both sides of the
They're
street.
packing the snow down there. You know, there were buses. John and I were like looking at each other. There was a foot and a half of snow on the ground, and there were buses still dropping kids off from school.
Yeah, it was.
There's no
It's
days
a
off.
mini city. And I'll be honest with everybody right now, and I'm not trying to bring up the KJ thing, but we are not ready as a highway department right now. I am not ready for a snowstorm in Curious Joe. I'll just tell you that right now. So that's where we stand right now.
Yeah, and there's rumors of a snowstorm this weekend.
Yeah, there's something about a nor'easter. So
We don't need
You
that.
know,
hopefully it's rain,
Hopefully.
because
it's rain.
Mother Nature's been so kind to us this
She's
year with
been
rain.
wonderful.
Because we need more rain.
We need more rain.
especially at 30
God,
degrees.
Does anybody have any questions? Because, I mean, I can go line by line for you, Tony, or do
The
you?
only, no, because you're all over this budget. You're
Yeah,
A, B, D, I mean DB and
A, D, A, D.
A, D, A, D, B, right? So, thank you, Helen. The only thing that jumps out, and if it hasn't for everyone, is there are 2 roads that John has put in the budget for, and if you go to page 17, it's line 4400, and those 2 roads are going to cost roughly in the neighborhood of $410,000. I will let you know in the general meeting how we're going to accomplish that.
Correct.
I don't want to discuss it in the budget because let's wait till general meeting for that. But those roads are Lake Region Boulevard.
Lake Region Boulevard, School Road, and there was a couple of shorter streets that we had in between if we could fit it in. But Lake Region Boulevard is priority. That's been on the list for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's time we do something with that road. And I try to get you guys a list, of course, of the roads that I plan on doing a year beforehand.
Yeah.
And at least as close to the prices I can possibly get to you, without prices going up dramatically.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't go far, trust me.
Yeah. Hey, John, with the with highway taking over the water department duties,
Correct.
I mean, how has that affected your, just looking back now that you've been in it for about 9 months or so, or
Right.
close to a year,
Ricky has a couple hours a day that he's got to basically do his meters and stuff like that. He has been kind of busy, but he has been filtering in for highway work as needed. We did hire that part-time kid right now, Kirk, to assist Ricky with water meters, and we did send 3 guys to the class.
Right.
So we're at that point of, I got to start getting these guys staggered out with Ricky so they can actually become certified.
They got to get their hours.
And get their hours in. And that can affect us a little bit too.
Right.
We do have a 10-man crew, Most of our smaller jobs, we don't need the whole crew out there.
Right.
But when you get a big job like Hilltop,
Right.
it was all hands on deck. And Ricky would do his meters, and boy, he'd be right out there with us. So,
Yeah.
that's huge. And anything that we do, that I have to take a crew and actually go to a water main break, we charge back the districts for that. So that's charged back at our hourly rate plus FEMA rates for tobacco, material, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So we've been on top of that regularly.
Yeah. No, listen, I was a little concerned.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, trust me.
But I tell you guys have really taken it over well. And I saw Wayne Kirkpatrick over the weekend at the food truck festival. He goes, "How come you guys don't call me?" I was like, "Because we don't need to."
Yeah, well, I mean,
and I didn't mean that in a bad way, but I said really, I said that the guys have been doing a great job. And
well, the good thing is, and especially any water main break, I mean, and Mary will tell you, we're within 20 minutes. We have a crew on the ground. That's usually the going rate, unless somebody doesn't get their message right away, but or a phone dies. But otherwise, for the most part, Mary's usually on top of it. So if my phone dies, she's already making a phone call. So, but for the most part, we are. Like you say, we're public servants. That's what we do.
If you don't respond to Mary's phone call in 11 seconds, you
That is completely true. That's really all I have, unless we have any more issues or questions. I mean, like I say, my budget's going to pretty much stay, for the most part, the same. There will be some elevated areas. Salt naturally does concern me, but that's the way it's going to be, and we have to really, sit down later on and decide where we're going.
The only question I had, John, was, and we didn't discuss this, was on page 15, brush and weeds, line 1020.
Hold on here.
You got like a
Okay.
20% increase there?
150.
156 to 189?
Yeah.
Is that because the 152 is still not?
No, I think we have a note, actually, Tony, that the line under it, the 1,030, that money has actually been put up into that
Okay.
1050 line. So
Yeah,
it's
that
been
just went up
combined.
top. Because basically, I mean, listen, I could definitely use another part-timer for leaves. There's no question about it. I could really use a full-timer if the taxpayers or the town board could find it in their heart to find the monies for that. But, going down to a 14-man crew down to a 10 is tight. But, there's always that. And listen, I understand the palm tree thing, so I get it. We can only do what we can do.
I have a question regarding leaves. There's always been discussion back and forth. Bag them or leave them by the curbs?
Bagging them, you still have to have the crew going out to get them. The village tried bagging them a while back. It didn't work out too well for them. The leaf machines are really the best way to go, especially from now until they freeze. And when they freeze, if we get that into that part of the winter, The leaf machines still work, but we loosen them up with a backhoe. We just go out there and clamshell them and bring them down to the
John, can
compound.
I add to that a little bit?
Sure.
Because I addressed that many years ago when I was first on the board. The bigger problem with bags is that the men have to lift the bags. And it may not sound like much, but you get a house that, you take on a block, and you got a couple of hundred bags on a
Sure,
block.
sure.
They're really breaking their backs. You're saving, injury.
Yeah,
By
well,
going
I
on
also know from an environmental standpoint, when those leaves start washing down into the lakes and the streams and the culverts.
Sure.
It's not a good.
Yeah, that's why people should keep the leaves windrowed in their yard, not on the roadway, but unfortunately, that doesn't work all the time
Or
either.
put a top on it.
But I know Cornwall, I don't know if Cornwall still bags them or not, but I know they have a garbage truck that they go around and throw them just, with the crusher.
Yeah,
Maybe
but-
that works out great for them, but we got about 50-something miles of road we got to play with, so.
But
it's
your
a-
guys are also lifting those bags up into the thing.
Yeah, you're going
into
up a
the
lot
truck.
higher, or a
And-
loader bucket
And
or
you're
something
talking
like that.
injuries after a while, they're not machines.
No. Towards a machine.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just for John Q. Public out there, when you're going to start picking up the leaves? I guess it's fall now, or?
We're going to bring that up at the meeting, but probably second week in November, we're looking at, I'm buttoning up some priority jobs right now, and we didn't get all of our work done. I'll tell you that right now.
Right, I just want that
But
out
we're
there.
buttoning up a couple priority pipe jobs.
Right.
One catch basin by Mr. Dunn's I got to fix, and then we're going to be, we do have one leaf box ready to go.
All right.
And
So people should not put their leaves on the roadway, and if they do, they should at least put a top on them to...
well, just, if they can keep them on the edge of their property, that's the best thing they could do, not to keep it off the road or out of the ditches.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Sean, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, I don't think there's any other departments here. Nope.
Really?
Oh,
I'm
town
kidding.
clerk.
I'm kidding.
I said to Val, I said,
Uh-oh.
watch, he's gonna forget me.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
Go up and give it to him, Madam Clerk.
First time in 16 years I've been on this side.
Yeah?
Wow, looks different.
Well, we love having you there.
Okay, I took a
Three
different
minutes.
approach to my budget.
Three
really
minutes?
3 minutes?
3 minutes? No problem. I'm done. Listen, I took a different approach to my budget. I slashed it. Equipment, I put 600. I put 600 because that's my toner for my printers. Any other equipment that I need, if my computer breaks, goes down, I'm going to come to you guys and ask for a computer. Instead of putting this $2,250 there and it sits there, I'll come to you and say, I need something. Right now, I'm at zero. I don't foresee myself buying anything. I got laptops already. Our computers eventually going to need to be updated, but not now. So that's why that dropped. Supplies, I was able to drop 200. Easy Pass tags, I dropped down to 1,050. This year, we're at 2,100, and that reasoning is they took out some toll booths. So people are coming in. We make, I think, $2.50 on a Easy Pass selling it. So I dropped it down, and we're going to stay at 1,050. Records management is $1,000. I dropped that down. I made a suggestion to the supervisor that maybe we do away with document shredding company and buy a commercial shredder like we used to have in the town hall. Once a year, the truck would come, and that would be when we do our purge of the records, and the $1,000 would cover that. Education and meeting dues, I dropped down to 1,500. I think I can make do with that, unless, there might be a conference that I would like Valerie to go to, because there is, with records, a big discussion going to be in June with Niagara, with the website, social media, and things like that, because there is records retention, which now we're all coming to find out that we have to retain these records. Cell phone, there was 2 in my office because me and Patty are registrars. I turned in my town cell phone, just so you all know. The town clerk's office has 1 cell phone. I have a laptop at home. I take it, if I'm on vacation, it's always with me. I'm accessible 24/7 that way. The cell phone is really for, in the middle of the night, which we have been called, for death certificates. So between me and Patty, we bounce that back and forth. Spay and neutering, I dropped that down to $1,250. That's the TARA. That's the CAT program. The town pays $25. The resident pays $25. It seems to be working very well, but we've been staying within that, so I think we'll be good with that this year. So that is my town clerk's budget. So I cut it down pretty good. I'm very comfortable and confident with it. Tax collection, I cut that budget down because the equipment is used in the town clerk's office. So I don't need an equipment line. I'll take it out of the town clerk. Stationery, the only thing that we really buy is envelopes to mail the receipts out with. So we have that. I dropped down the tax roll and bill preparation down to $1,679 from $1,900, and that just shows you the difference of the bills that we will be mailing out this year opposed to last year. Education and dues, we left the $600 in. That can be used, that can be turned back, because a lot of the conferences I go to for town clerk include the tax collecting. So I leave that there in case one of the girls in the office need to come, but it's not really a necessity. If it needs to be cut, it can be cut. And that is my budget. Any questions?
I have a question on the tax collector.
Mhm.
You're not going to be sending out the bills to Palm Tree come,
Correct.
so that's a big
That's why that dropped.
drop.
That's
Okay.
why that dropped.
All right, thank you.
We will be opened. Last year we did it, and we will be opened every other Saturday and one night late during the week, during tax season, and the last day of every month. Okay, so this way it's convenient for the taxpayers. Any questions?
Anybody?
Okay, I'll come join you.
Come on back over.
Thank you, Mary Ellen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. No other departments this evening. Mike and I are going to schedule a meeting with the courts. I guess that's it for this evening. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a comment or two or speak? No? Lorraine? Public hearing is November 8th.
November 8th, 7 o'clock.
Okay. So with that, we can adjourn since it's a workshop. Anybody have any other questions before we do? Nope. Okay. So we'll adjourn that workshop. Move on to the public hearing. So I will make a motion that we, prior to our general meeting, we open up the public hearing for the
Tax
cap override.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we open up the public hearing for the introductory law number 9 for the tax cap.
Cologne, the second.
Is there a second?
I second, Cologne, the second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Call the question?
What's that? Call the question?
Question?
Yep.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin aye.
Okay. Mr. Nugent?
Yeah, opposite.
Your microphone and Valerie's.
It'll be like that. I can take mine.
Say something important.
Take McGinn, we really don't want to hear him tonight.
I agree.
Thank you, Supervisor.
He doesn't need a mic.
This public hearing concerns a local law that authorizes the town to exceed the tax cap pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 3C. Public hearing rather, was noticed by the town clerk. Publication of the notice of this public hearing at least 5 days in advance. And tonight would be an opportunity for anyone from the public that wishes to speak. This adoption of this local law does not necessarily mean that the town is going to exceed the tax cap. That you could still choose not to adopt tonight if you want. It just has to be adopted before the budget's adopted if you actually are going to exceed the cap. If you don't exceed the cap, then it's up to you. You can leave the law adopted in place, or you can choose not to move forward with it. So tonight, I would recommend we open it up to the public and/or the board members, and then we can discuss how you want to proceed.
I think we should pass the local law to override the tax cap, because I'm still awaiting a response from the state as to what our tax cap will be. And I think it's a complicated method that they're struggling with, because it's never done in the past, where we lost, 27%, I think, of the tax levy, going from 554 to 388. So I'm going to assume they're not going to say, oh, your tax cap's still going to be, based on the 554 million. So I'm going to make the motion that we, override the tax cap.
Supervisor, we should just first offer anybody that wishes to speak from the public, since it's a public hearing.
Anyone like to speak?
This is just on the tax cap local law.
Nope. Okay, I'll make that motion to override local law number 9.
Do we have
Override,
to-
what's
do we have
that?
to close the public hearing?
Yeah, well, let me ask, does any of the board members wish to discuss while the public hearing's open? All right, if not, we can move to close the public hearing, and then you can present the motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. So I will make a motion to pass local law number 9 to override the 2019 tax cap.
I'll second it.
All right.
Any discussion? Rick? Oh, I thought you were. Oh, got a second. Okay. All right, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. So this doesn't mean we're going to override it, it's just a protection for us in case we do, correct, Mr. Nugent?
That's correct, Supervisor. I mean, at this point, the law is passed. If for some reason, prior to the adoption of your budget, you realize that you will not exceed the cap, you could repeal that local law.
Okay.
Does that require public notice or no? Public
Yeah,
notice,
the repeal would require similar notice, but it doesn't have to be done before the budget. The repeal could happen after the budget's adopted, yeah.
All right. So if that's the case.
Okay, so we close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we already closed the public hearing.
No, I said we closed the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we closed the public hearing. I'd like to take a 5-minute bathroom break before we begin our next general meeting.
Yes, for discussion.
Discussion on that?
No discussion.
I'll second it.
Second,
Third.
Third, okay.
third, whatever. Don't we have to call the question?
I heard you. I'd like to make a motion to open up the Monroe Town Board General Meeting of Monday, October 22nd, 2018.
Second.
Okay.
Seconded. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Before we begin the meeting, what I'd like to do is acknowledge a member of our community who has been extremely kind to the residents of Monroe for many years. Scott Rosemarin. Would you like to come up to the podium here for a second? Scott, yep, right there. Scott has been very instrumental in helping Councilman Scancarello raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which actually goes back into our community in wishes for members of this Monroe Woodbury community. Scott has offered his property. He actually has offered it to us for the food truck festival, possibly. He's done Heroes for a Cure for 3 years?
3, yep.
And I'll let you piggyback off that.
Since day one, he's just been a great human being. Your wife is wonderful. Your children are wonderful. You open your doors to us like we're family, and what you've done for us over the years is never to be forgotten. You're a great community-oriented person.
Scott actually also, when we had our first food truck festival in June, offered his property for overflow parking. And it was, it wasn't used greatly, but it was there in case we had any issues. So on behalf of the town board, we'd like to thank you. And I'll let Councilman Scancarello read the plaque.
I'm not going to put the pin on you. You can. The town of Monroe gratefully acknowledges Scott Rosemarin for your selfless dedication, support, and outstanding contributions to the town of the Monroe community. Presented on this day, October 22nd, by the Town Board of Monroe.
Thank you. You guys want to come out and get a photo with Scott?
Very much. Appreciate it, Scott. Good.
Get next to Sal, Larry. Yeah, that's right. Great, try to do. Here is your Town of Monroe making an impact pin. So Councilman McGinn is good at pinning things.
No.
Tony, look over here, please.
There you go.
Thank you. Are you going to tell a joke, Scott?
If you give him a few
Don't
minutes,
get
he
him
will.
started.
He will. I'm surprised he didn't take that podium and do a few jokes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Scott, don't feel obligated to stay, because I know you have a lot of things in your life you have to take care of, so. I'm not pushing you out, but whenever you're ready to leave.
Just go.
So, as far as our board goes, what I'd like to do is go through a couple of items, and I'd like to go into an executive session to discuss personnel and salaries.
And contracts.
And contracts, and then we'll come out and go through the remainder of the agenda. If everyone is okay with that?
Good.
Okay. So the order of the claims which you have in front of you, the vouchers were signed by myself, Councilman McGinn, Councilman Scancarello, and Councilwoman Bingham.
Did I sign those?
Did you get down for these?
Did I signed those with you, right?
I'm just trying to see which one.
The last one.
What's that?
Yes.
Oh, some of them, yeah, okay.
Most of them, yeah.
And then I know, so the two abstracts you have in front of you, one is for the Monroe Theater and one is for the general fund. That one you were talking about, Mary, is listed on here. Well, the couple you were talking about. I know one was the PO number 1800189.
Yes.
Okay. The other one, I believe, from MHE, we were given backup documentation for.
Okay, it just wasn't available when I
Yeah.
was there to sign it.
Yeah, and I forget what the third one was you had. Do you remember?
Don't remember. Okay.
All right, well, so then, I will make a motion to approve the audit of claims excluding PO number 18-00189, which is on your Monroe Theater page. It's about 3/4 of the way down.
Right.
It says advertising in the description.
Right, 1735.
Yep, for $1,735.89 until we review that. And I would need a second for that.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Helen, do you happen to remember the other one that Mary was?
I think it might have been about a water charge. Something was charged to a water district for advertising in the photo, in the Tenco record,
That was for the part-time employee.
and we transferred the expense.
Okay. It was just, okay. Different coding.
Okay. So, do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Call the question?
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. We need the acceptance of the October 1st, 2018 minutes.
I will make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second. Cologne, second.
Any other discussion, corrections, changes, revisions? Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Okay,
McGinn, aye. Sorry about that.
all right, yeah, sure.
Jumped the gun.
All right. Jumped the gun, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Oh. Acceptance of the October 3rd, 2018 minutes.
I'll make that motion.
And I will second.
That was Scancarello and Bingham. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna jump around here. What I'd like to do is go over well, let's just do 5.1, 5.2, and then move into executive session. So, the Town of Monroe fee schedule.
We're working on that. Ben has made suggestions, and the town clerk, Mary Ellen, has made suggestions. We did receive samples, well, not samples, but the actual fee schedules from 4 other towns. They're being reviewed, and hopefully we usually adopt the fee schedule in January, so we should be in good shape to have some new fees in place.
Okay. All right. And you're working with Mary Ellen on that, right?
And Ben, and
Yeah.
probably Highway.
Okay. All right. Item 5.2, the request to hire a part-time driver at Dial-A-Bus. Let me just see yours, please. Okay. Don Pasculo, our head bus driver. Yes, head bus driver, sorry. Has requested to approve hiring Kelly Ann Coffey as a part-time bus driver at a rate of $16.85 per hour under the current contract. The proposed start date is November 1? Correct? Yep. Okay. And she's going to be pending all the satisfactory pre-employment testing and approvals. So we have that request before us. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Seconded for discussion.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Mary made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Again, second it for discussion. Councilman McGinn's a little off his game
Yeah,
this
I'm a
evening,
little
I
off my game
noticed,
here.
yeah.
I'm reading and not listening, that's why I'm reading this.
All right. Discuss.
So, was this previously, Don, was this previously posted and,
Yes.
all right, and that was actually,
It was in the paper and on our website.
Okay.
Times Howell Record.
and what type of response did you get?
About 4 people came
Okay,
for it.
and you're happy with the experience that this person has?
She's going to bring 8 years of bus driving experience. to the
Okay.
table.
All right. I know that CDL with, the passenger endorsements,
Right.
getting harder and harder to get,
She has all of the
She has it.
requirements.
Okay, all right, just wanted to check. I mean, I know she has it, but I just wanted to kind of gauge how
Is she-
hard it is to find people.
Is she local?
She is. She lives in Monroe.
Good.
Castle
Then-
Avenue.
Okay,
All right.
good thing. No other discussion?
Nope.
Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Again,
Okay. Helen, would you like to discuss the funds owed to Mudna? Yeah, you can come up here. You could have walked in front of George's camera. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Road, there is a pump station or an actual pump that needed to be replaced. And Moodna Basin went ahead, did the purchase of the pump, and they actually did the work. So our district, which would be SS8, would owe that money, which is roughly 43, I think it's 43.89.
43.98. 50.
98,
Yep.
okay. So we would owe that money from that sewer district, and right now, we already have a fund balance in SS8, which is roughly 25,000. So I was suggesting that we take the money from that fund balance and pay the 43.98 from that, rather than put another tax on the 19 tax bill.
Okay.
and what's the surplus for sewer district number 8?
25,000?
25, all right.
Yeah, that's in their fund balance.
Okay.
Do you want to take all the funds out of the fund balance or leave a little bit in there, or?
No, I would leave the remaining balance in there, but I think taking the 43.98 would be beneficial because they haven't touched that 25,000 in a number of years.
Oh, okay.
No brainer.
So, and that'll offset it.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so, I'll make a motion that we,
I'll make the motion.
You make the
since I'm
motion? yeah, you're
Since
the
I'm a
Mudna.
Moodna
Yeah,
commission member there, Mr. Supervisor.
okay.
And I will
Supervisor.
second it.
And Councilman Cologne's the other Mudna
Yes.
commission member.
So I'll make a motion that we take the money for the pump, 43.98.50, from the fund balance from sewer district number 8 to reimburse Buddha for it.
Okay.
I'll second that. Cologne, second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin, aye.
Wow, three times
I know,
tonight.
it's just tough today.
Yep.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. All right, so moved. Okay. Superintendent Sherney,
Yes.
do you want to discuss that pesticide applicator course? for highway
Okay,
department
this is
personnel?
actually a combined course. It's not just pesticides, it's also for weed control, which is the main reason I would like 2 of my men to go to this. Basically to try to keep a control in these weeds that are growing up in between curb lines, around guide rails, is becoming more and more time consuming, and I think with this type of a course will be definitely beneficial to the town and the taxpayers of the town, as well as a pesticide course, which could actually become beneficial towards possibly certain buildings and ball fields and things of that nature for the town as well. So it's $750 a man. They will provide their own transportation. The class is held in Westchester, and that would be $1,500, and I would have to move a little bit of monies around, but I do have monies in my lines.
Okay. So there's, we have the amount?
$750 a
750
person.
times 2.
Times two, okay.
Mhm.
So can we get a motion to approve $1,500?
All right, I'll make the motion to approve the $1,500 for weed and pest control for the highway, and that would be for education purposes of 2 members of the highway department.
I'll second.
Discussion, that $750 includes any other expenses, John? as well?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay.
And do you know what 2 men are likely to go to it?
Al, Berto, and possibly Chris Cox. I do have 2 guys signed up. They can change their mind, and I could still have 48 hours notice to where I can get somebody else in the class.
Okay.
And they'll be licensed for pest control.
Exactly.
That's going to be a big savings.
So it'll help out. In the long run, it'll help out everybody. I know the Village of Monroe has one guy that does it, for especially spraying the weeds. Weed control is a biggie.
Yeah.
It really is.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. I will call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarella, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
Next item, as Mrs. Morris from the Senior Center discussed, we need to set up a capital reserve fund for general repairs and building repairs for the Senior Center. The account number would be HO-11. So I will make a motion to approve that capital reserve fund, line item being.
And I will second.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scangarella, aye.
Begin, aye.
Okay. Next up, so with respect to our computers in the town of Monroe, we have a bunch of computers which are on different levels of office. We just upgraded, I believe, to 2013, and right now we want to upgrade to 2016 to get closer to the place where we want to be with respect to our office, Microsoft Office. The licensing is a one-time fee. We'll own the software, and it's approximately $230 per user. Helen, do we have like 40-something users currently?
Approximately, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $10,000. I want everybody to think about this. I don't want to make a decision tonight because I want to research it a little more. There is an issue with some of the people who are on 13 and some of the people who are on 16 with our mail, receiving, sending mail, and there's also some security issues with regard to the malware and whatnot. So I want to gather more information. I just want everybody to be aware of what's going on with it. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so what, is this, that number, is that, are we getting that number by going through our IMA with New Windsor?
No, this is Core BTS.
Core BTS.
Yeah, who we have.
Is that like a,
an
is that
agreement
like
with
a
them. It's
government
state-
contract
it's a
number?
state- Yeah, it's a
bid?
state bid number. So, and they're good for about 10 years, the installs on them. You know, some people have issues. I know Helen has had issues with her computer lag. You have 13 or?
I have 13.
Yeah. So if you have an older version, your computer's lagging, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's later in the day. In my case, it's been earlier in the day. So, Mary Ellen, how have yours been?
Ours lag at the end of the day.
I see you.
Yeah, they do. You do know the end of the day. And I'm not very computer savvy when it comes to this, and I said, oh, we're closing town hall at 4 o'clock, so I guess the server's closing down. And I never realized that that's actually what was happening. It was not the server itself.
And just, you know, just so everybody understands, you know, there's, I don't know what the right word is, but our system was kind of fragmented from the start. Once we started investigating it in late 2017, not everybody had software protection on their computer. The only software protection was on the main server.
Yes.
And I don't even think, did the backup server have it?
Well, the backup server was it was backing up to another location, yes.
Okay. So, our IT guys have really had some issues. And as everyone knows, we did have a virus for about middle of September? No, end of August. End of August twice. And, they were able to, avert a major catastrophe. So it was 2 weeks. I know Helen could not get on the BAS program because we didn't want to infect it. So, this essentially is an upgrade, and I think this will get us to the point where we really should be, because we were presently working on 2007 Office with no upgrades. We were out of contract, out of warranty, and I think this is I'll get more information for everyone. I just want everybody to be aware that it's something that we probably will need to do. So, okay, with that said, I'd like to make a motion to go in executive session to discuss salaries and also contract negotiations.
You're gonna make the motion?
I'll second it.
I'll make the motion.
Oh,
Okay.
You're gonna second, you just second.
you make the motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, you got it.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Don't make.
Okay.
Come on, please.
We'll keep it quick. I know Helen wanted to discuss some things. I don't know, let's, how about you come back? Yeah, come back first. Okay.
Alrighty.
Poor Brian has no room tonight. I'm just
That's
hogging
right,
up
it's fine.
all the space.
Plus I got
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to come out of executive session back into regular general town board meeting session.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. You want
Should we do the,
to do those motions now?
Yeah.
Those decisions?
okay. I'd like to make a motion that, based on the 2019 salaries for the elected town board officials, that there be no salary increases, a 0% increase.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay. Second item up is elected officials' salary.
We just did that. We just
No,
did
no,
that.
no.
No.
Town
That was
board.
town board.
Town board.
That was town board.
All right, elected officials.
So,
All right, so I guess I'll make the motion then that the other elected officials get a 2% for 2019, fiscal year 2019.
I'll second that. Cologne, second.
it's for discussion, so those officials would be the town clerk and the highway superintendent?
And the assessor, right? And
No, assessor's not
Oh, she's not elected.
Not elected.
Justice
not
would be
elected.
your only other one.
Oh, justice, okay.
Justice courts,
All
yeah,
right.
okay.
And again, that's just, or someone want to second that for discussion?
Rick did.
I just did.
Second.
That's why I started.
So listen,
discussing it.
obviously, that's to reflect the, the current state we're in with the separation, and to, be fiscally prudent this year while we're still working through things, IMAs and other things, see where we wind up, monetarily, so, budget-wise.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, in keeping with that, we had a controller, we got rid of the controller, the controller's position, we eliminated that salary and the benefits that go along with it. We hired an accounting company for half the cost that we?
About 65%.
65% of the cost.
35% cut.
And saved a considerable amount of money. But with that, the supervisor has taken on the duties and responsibility as the chief financial officer and chief budgeting officer for the town. And I can tell you that during this budget period, he has been working a lot of hours to do this budget, and the previous supervisor was not involved with the budget process. So, in keeping with that, I think the supervisor deserves a stipend for taking on these duties, especially now that there is no controller. So I'm going to make a motion that he gets a stipend of $7,500 to perform that function. If you compare it to the other, the range in Orange County that supervisors get paid for the CFO or chief budgeting officer stipend runs between $6,000 and $18,000. So I think that's a fair number on the low end of the scale to compensate them.
I'll second that.
Ooh,
And,
that was good. It's a double second.
oh, was it? You and I both, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Any other discussion?
Well, Tony, first off, you've done a lot of work, especially with the getting the theater contract that worked out, and the other IMAs. So you've been working on this quite a bit for the town. So I think it's a good move. I think it's well deserved.
Thank you.
There's no doubt,
Well,
the full-time hours that are being put in, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. It's a lot of hours.
I appreciate the vote of confidence, and, like I had told Rick last week, my goal is to get that budget down to somewhere in the single digits, which I believe we can do. So, and when I say it's a group effort, from all of us here, so thank you for the vote of confidence.
And again, that stipend is just for that position, and if that was to change, then.
Correct.
Right, CFO or chief budgeting officer position.
Right.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone abstain.
Scancarello, aye.
Begin aye.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Next item, YMCA, request for the O&R property. Mr. Nugent, would you like to just fill us in on what has transpired? And I'll add a little to it.
In terms of this is in the license, or the easement, I should say, license?
License.
Yeah. So I had been back and forth with the attorney, or I think it's the director also, the same person for the YMCA, and they are looking for an agreement to utilize a roadway as a secondary access, which apparently the village planning board requires them to have. Generally, the YMCA had agreed to the terms, but in their latest correspondence today, they're still looking for a license agreement that would only be terminated if they violated the terms, or if the property was sold. That's still problematic when it comes to a license agreement, because typically it's going to be revocable for, there might be a time period, but the town would still typically have the right to revoke that agreement, because if they don't, then it's really not a license agreement. The other option is obviously an actual easement of some sort, for value, in which case it would be recorded, and, there would be an access easement that could have conditions, limiting it to a secondary access or something along those lines. So we haven't reached, a final point. Again, I just got the letter from the attorney back today, and that's the only kind of wrinkle, if you will, that's outstanding right now, is this issue of, the revocability of the license agreement. So I don't know if you want to add whatever discussion you may have had.
My discussions initially when I met with their engineer / architect and John Sherney out there was that If they were going to use this, we didn't want it to be permanent. We wanted it to be something that we could take a look at, because there is another avenue for ingress and egress out onto 17, which the county has approved already. It just might be moved down closer to Crystal Run. And everyone seemed to be in agreement, and then when I got a call from Ira Berdansky, he claimed they were looking for something a little more permanent. And I especially based on the success we had there with this food truck festival, I don't want to, and I know Councilman McGinn has expressed the same, I don't think we should lock ourselves into something, aside from the fact that if we did do an easement versus a license, wouldn't we have to go out for a public referendum on that?
Well, it wouldn't be a public referendum, but the resolution approving the easement would be subject to permissive referendum. So it would only go to a referendum if somebody filed a petition in the 30-day period after the resolution was passed.
Okay.
But yes, that was one of the points that was discussed, and they weren't adverse to that when I did state that any use of it, whatever the agreement, is not going to be exclusive. In the town, I mentioned specifically the example of the food truck festival, that we may need to use it on occasion. So I don't think that's a stumbling block. It's really just this concept of, I think they believe that, and maybe they're right, that the village planning board may not accept a situation where there's a revocable license agreement that the town could pull. And, I don't know if that's the case, but I think that's their concern.
Okay. The other thing was that we were very steadfast in the fact we did not want any salt put down on the road there if they were going to maintain it, and that our engineer Mark Etzel had suggested that we make it a tar and chip type road, so it's got a county feel going through the property there versus a normal size road. John had said anywhere between 15 to 18 feet wide. And we don't want to lose any trees there, because, it goes right through a row of trees on each side of the road. And I think that's important to maintain the integrity of the property there. And it's a valuable piece of property, and, locking us into something that would not allow us to, either develop it or enhance it or do something to it that adds to our benefit. And not that I'm willing to work with the Y, I think we all are. I think we all see the benefit, in then coming in from there. But I just think we have to tread lightly here with respect to, locking ourselves into something permanently.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should make a motion, or I'll make a motion at this point, that, we authorize the attorney to respond, or to whatever negotiations that he conducts, that this is a temporary arrangement to allow them to go forward with their permitting process, and that they should examine going out, make plans to make a permanent access point onto 17M, since they do have the clearances from the county to do so, and just define the use a little bit more, the temporary use of the road. And, is it going to be one way in, one way out? How's that going to be structured? I think we need to know that, and it's, good that you address the maintenance and salt use and everything else, but I think those are things that have to be worked out.
Yeah, I think that we can easily do all of that, and if it ends up a license agreement, we can put in all the terms we want. I think the real issue right now is probably, and I'll have to find out in there, is from the correspondence I've received, I don't get the impression they're looking for something temporary. I get the impression they're looking for something permanent. So they haven't mentioned this other access that the supervisor talked about. Clearly, if they were going to go forward with that, the license agreement becomes a lot easier, and it is temporary, and we could put conditions, but it sounded to me that they're looking for something permanent, and that was the problem, because I said, well, we can't give you something even near permanent and that wouldn't be revocable, because it is a license agreement. So under no circumstances would it say, we'll only revoke it if you violate the terms. So that's sort of the problem right now. And I don't know, maybe the other thing is for them to go to the planning board and find out would a revocable license agreement satisfy the planning board with respect to the secondary access that they're looking for? And if so, then problem solved. If not, then they might have to look at a temporary license agreement for this property and move forward with the plan the supervisor mentioned for that more permanent access.
Okay.
So can we clarify this motion?
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to make a motion on this, or we're
No,
just?
I mean, we're already having a discussion, so I can, reach back out to them after tonight's discussion and say, A, what is the status, of this other potential plan? And if they are looking for permanency, that's probably not going to happen, and, see if we can move it along that way. But I don't think we need any motion at this point.
Okay. I mean, Tony, do you want me to reach out to Ira and talk to him? Or
Yeah,
no?
if you want to reach out to him.
And you want to talk to the village and just find out if that's.
Yeah, I'll talk to Neil. I'll see what
Yeah.
the deal
All right,
is
I'll
with the
give Ira a
village.
call tomorrow.
All right.
Just tell him what our feelings are about this and that,
Okay.
All
right.
Because, I think, it's a temporary solution to the problem that they had.
Yeah.
And again, I think.
And it's not a long run from the back of our property across the Heritage Trail to get to 17. I want to say it's maybe 25, 30 yards.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
not that long.
I think
don't
that's
even-
all still in the village, isn't it?
And
is.
that is still in the village.
Yeah, I don't even think that
Yeah.
encompasses.
No, that
us.
property is still in the village. 'Cause
It's our property, but it's in
if
the...
you're looking at our property, if you're looking at on our park, the right, maybe like 15% of it is in the
Right.
village.
Right,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
All right. Next item up, item 6.2 is Water District 10 waiver request. Mary?
Right, we had that developer, Saga, come in and now they're putting their water lines in. And according to our town code 53-2, B, the service pipe should be K copper. Well, they asked for a waiver, and I reached out to our town engineer, and they said, yeah, I don't want to use the word plastics because everybody kind of thinks of the cheap plastic that deteriorates very quickly, but there are certain types of plastic, and the Sean Arnott has specified what the type is. It's a HDPE SDR11 or an equivalent. So we're looking to give Saga a waiver from the K copper to use the type of plastic service line that Sean Arnott has outlined in his email from today. And that was just left in the packets this afternoon.
Did you want to make a motion for that?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we grant a waiver to Saga Development? Saga.
Yeah, I think
From-
it's Saga Construction.
Okay, from the section of Town Code 53-2B to allow the use of plastic service line as outlined in Sean Arnott's email of October 22nd instead of the K copper as listed in Town Code.
I'll second that.
I'm
motion.
sorry, if we could just add to that, subject to the 5 requirements that Mr. Arnott included in his email.
Hello.
Sure. And I will add, pursuant to our attorney's suggestion, that the 5 specific items mentioned in the email are also done.
I'm just going to read them quick, Mary, into the record.
Sure.
So item number 1 is the proposed pipe should be specified to accept at least 150 PSI of static pressure. Number 2, the proposed pipe shall be certified to ANSI/NSF61. A cut sheet certifying each of the above should be reviewed by the water superintendent or engineer of the town. Number 4, the proposed pipe should be installed at least 4 feet below finished grade. And number 5, an aluminum water line identification tape should be buried at plus or minus 2 feet below the finished grade. So, if we
Those
could
will be
add
all
that
the
in.
conditions.
Do we have a second? Or?
Yeah, I second it.
Mike seconded it. Okay.
I'll second it with all those add-ons there.
Okay, just for full transparency here, my daughter has entered into a contract to buy this house, so I will be abstaining from this. So, I told Mary a couple of weeks ago, so I just wanted to let everybody know I'm staying out of this one.
Okay.
So, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone abstain.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
So moved. Okay. Public comment.
You know, you have 2 requests from town employees for vacation extensions.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to handle those or not?
Yeah, let me. Okay, so the first request is from Noreen McSweeney. She says to town board members, this letter is a request to carry over 5 vacation days from 18 to 19, which is within the town employee handbook. I have had an odd number of days this year due to starting in the middle of the year last year and accruing time. I was saving some of my personal sick and vacation time as my mother needed to see a couple of specialists this year, and she was supposed to have cataract surgery as well this year. Due to a minor health issue complication, the cataract surgery has been postponed until next year. As of right now, the surgery has been scheduled for March 13th and March 27th, so I will be using time by the end of the first quarter of 2019. I'm asking the board's approval to carry over 5 vacation days to be available for my mother's cataract surgery. If you have any questions, please let me know. So, anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to allow Noreen McSweeney to carry over 5 vacation days
I'd like to
from
second.
2018 to 2019.
Seconded by Councilman
Cologne.
Cologne. Any other questions? Discussion?
It's all about family.
Okay, call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next one is from Roberta McBride. I would like to make a request to hold over 5 vacation days from this year until 2019. Due to the audit and extra work that needs to be done, I don't think I'll be able to use the rest of my vacation days this year. Also note that Helen and I have put an additional 30 to 40 hours of extra work that we have not requested pay or comp time for, which is true. They've stayed, late and put in a lot of work on
They've worked
on the audit.
So I'll make a motion that Roberta McBride be allowed to carry 5 vacation days over from 2018 to 2019.
I'll second that.
All right, Sal?
Seconded by
Sal.
Scancarello. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
McGinn, aye.
Okay, so moved. Any other things that I might have missed? Okay, public comment.
I'm sorry. Lorraine, sorry.
Hello, Lorraine Loning, Village of Monroe. I want to talk about this pesticide applicator course and weed control course. I don't like it. I've been working in my garden for a few years. I have this awesome native plant. I have pollinators, and pesticides are I don't want them in my town. I was hoping maybe at this course they could bring up using more organic things like they do at the school. This way it would be more better for our town, people. So that's just my comment about that. I'm opposed to this. The other thing I want to talk about just briefly is in the spirit of openness and transparency, there's this site in Connecticut, the state of Connecticut has this Open Connecticut, an open checkbook, and it is real time that you can see every invoice that the state comptroller's office pays. So FOIL requests, really, you don't need it anymore. If I want to see that they paid, an oil heat, I can see every single invoice. And they have, $8 billion in expenditures every year. Obviously, you're much smaller, that it should be simpler. And I think, for the spirit, like I said, of openness and transparency, if we could move towards some sort of real-time, right now, it boggles my mind that I have to look at year-to-date through 8/15/18. Why can't we have real-time where we are now for the budget process? So just things to think about as you move forward for next year. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ward?
see the time. I want to echo what's already commented on the real-time data. Also, I noticed a concern when we talk about the O&R property and the easement, concern with the use of salt. And we salt all our highways. We spend a great deal of taxpayers' money re-drilling people's wells. We're contaminating our own drinking water. And pesticide deal, I think it goes along with the salt deal. We have one aquifer, actually multitude, but we have one source. Most of us are dependent upon an aquifer. We're not going to get water from aqueduct. And I've been complaining about this for probably 25 years.
At least.
To reduce the amount of salt and then add insult to injury by adding pesticide, I think, the rationalization for the salt and the pesticide was always saving manpower, saving equipment. It's easy to put down, done. However, we have little legacies like Agent Orange, not my generation, and those things should be dealt with. You just can't ignore these things. These problems compound. And the former highway superintendent used to have this theory that he can miraculously convert all that salt to harmless things. He can't. And he sold, in fact, one budget year, almost bankrupt the town, the amount of salt he used. And we got to address reality here. It's cheaper in the long run to go back and it doesn't sacrifice anyone's safety to use more sand. Most of your conscientious reservoir cities and states around the reservoir, they do restrict the use no salt. They use exclusively sand. Yes, it requires maybe another street vacuum. Okay, may have to wash out or clean out the drainage ditches. Okay, now I've heard this argument used against the salt or for the salt is that if you use sand, it fills. DEC says, well, it fills up aquifers. It's detrimental. Yes, it will add deposits in some of your lower class wetlands. That's minor. That's mostly the sand is inert. It doesn't really cause a problem. It promotes life rather than kills life. So again, we want a certain municipality in our town has had a number of municipal wells being contaminated by its salt. They're contaminating their own water supply. And it's time that we address this problem before it's too late, because we're at the tipping point. The water authority, what they would do is they would take a community, go in and free test the water quality. They have the kids to participate with the school district, have the kids bring in water samples from home. And they noticed, when they first started school, sodium level was within acceptable range. Then they do it again in February, and it went phew. So there's a correlation there. And there's some of it does wash out. Statistically, I've seen over the years, only about half of that gets washed to some other poor municipality. The other half remains here, and it's accumulating. And you get a tipping point after a while. So, in order to address it with the highway problem, it's a health problem, and this takes a matter of redoing the method of business, and say, okay, we may need some more, as I said, street vacs, and sand is relatively cheap. It's the picking it up is messy. But even if it's at the worst case scenario, the sand will never cause the problem that salt is. Once you reach that, as I said, once you reach that contaminated tipping point, reverse osmosis machines are expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive. It may cost a little initially setting up Setting up our highway with more sweepers and trucks that actually can handle the weight of the sand, because salt's relatively light, so they may have to recondition. But the highway equipment will last longer. So that's what, I think they can address that topic. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ward.
Thank you, Ward.
Anybody have comments?
I'm going to comment, I agree with Ward, the salt's been an issue for quite a while, and I'm also going to agree with Lorraine about the pesticides. Most of our bee population has been decimated because of certain types of pesticides. So there wasn't a lot of information on that sheet that I received, but I will look into it. I'll speak to John a little bit more to see specifically what kind of things can be done along with the pesticides. And the salt, I don't know what we can do about right now, but down the road, if we do think about having to replace trucks, maybe we should consider having a truck that can handle sand as well as salt.
We do already.
Yeah, so we can work on that as well.
Rick?
We have started to use a salt and sand mixture. That was a couple of years back, but it was a small percentage. It is an issue that towns and cities all have to grapple with, and you're 100% correct on that. As well as the other thing is the bee population, which helps us with what, 75% plus of all food grown in this country. So pesticides, I know companies are starting to try and use different types of pesticides. So that is an issue of concern. As far as Agent Orange, it's also called dioxin. There was a major chemical company that was also, they had a lawsuit on that not too long ago because people are using it on their lawns to clear away weeds, and I understand the convenience, but it's still an issue. So it's something that, yes, that must be brought to attention, and we still have to look at.
Lorraine, with respect to your real time and Ward as well, Helen and I have discussed this, and we're all trying to work with our accountant to try to get it for our public hearing on November 8th. I agree with you. I mean, it's difficult, but it's an Excel technician issue. So that's where we're going, because we have to change the whole column versus going in and putting in numbers individually. So we're working on it. So and then Ward, the only concern, major concern and difference with the salt over there is there's no catch basins, there's no drainage. Everything will drain off into the tree roots, and those trees would probably die within a year or two. So that's why the concern there was, prominent regarding the salt. That's it.
Lorraine, I'd like to research that pesticide situation as well. I think that's something we definitely have to look at a little more in detail here.
I think everyone on the board pretty much said it all, and yeah, the pesticides will be something we'll have to talk to the highway super about, and I know he cut down actually on his salt order for this year, so he's going to be, I know he's going to probably up his sand mixture, so.
Good. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I do.
Yes?
Okay, folks, the holidays are coming. They're already here. Once the kids go back to school, happy Halloween, Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and the whole bit. Two things. First thing, I think it's important that we support our local businesses. The big box stores come in. Yes, they do provide a service. Yes, they are needed, but so are our small business people. I urge everybody to shop local when possible. Second, because it is the holiday season, you will be getting phone calls for different types of scams. One has been on Social Security. I had some information on that. I can't locate it right now. There are people calling up asking you about personal information. Do not give your Social Security number out. Do not give any bank account numbers out. Social Security will send you something in the mail. They will not call you. The same thing is true with some of the websites. They don't call you on the phone. I just urge everybody that this is the time of year when the scammers are out in force on the phone, online. Please do not give out your personal information. If they have anything, tell them to mail it to you. You'll look it over. So please protect yourself. This is something that goes on every year. A lot of seniors are taken advantage of, and so a lot of young people as well. That's about it.
And that public service announcement was brought to you by Rick Colon.
I was thinking the same thing. Me too. Me too.
Oh, you guys are gonna get it now.
We love you, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have two quick things. One is there's the school proposition that's on the, on the agenda for tomorrow at the school, so please get out and vote. And I'm drawing a blank on my other thing. So,
Next meeting?
Let's
next
call.
meeting. Next meeting.
Next meeting.
Next meeting. Okay.
You calling it?
Calling it.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
We would have been
It's
out
not
here at
even
9:15 if you didn't talk so much.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Bingham. Call the question.
Cologne, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Okay, so moved. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.